Hi beauties, my name is Akorede Adenike. If you are new to my channel, you are highly welcome. Consider subscribing and don't forget to turn on the notification bell for you to be notified each time I upload new video. If you are my old subscribers, I really appreciate you for coming back to my channel. Thank you so much. In this tutorial today, I'm going to make the concluding part of my corset top with yoke. Here is the finishing look of it. As you can see, it's very nice and beautiful. So if you want to know how I achieved this, continue watching and let's move on to the cutting table. Now this is the Ankara fabric I'm using for the tutorial. I have 2 yards of fabric here. It's one of the African print. This is the net I'm using for the yoke, the lining for the fabric, and the BFF stay for the fabric and the lining. So I'm using this wording to pad my bust. Now I'm done cutting. This is the back part and this is the front part. This is the yoke for the back part. I added 1/2 inch all through for seam allowance to it. Then I have 2 pieces for my back, for the yoke of the back. So this is the side of my back. I have 2 pieces of the fabric, as you can see, and 2 pieces of the lining, as you can see. So I added 1/2 inch to it here and here for my seam allowance, but as for the side here and the bottom, I added 1.5, which is 1.5 for my seam allowance. So this is the center back. I added 1/2 inch all through here and here, but on the bottom part, at the bottom part here, I added 1.5 on the fabric, but my lining is 1 inch shorter than the fabric. As for this one too, my lining is 1 inch shorter than the fabric, as you can see. So as for the front, this is the yoke for the front. I added 1/2 inch all through for seam allowance and I cut it on fold. Let me open it. Let me remove the pin. So as you can see, here is it. I cut it on fold, and this is the side. I have 2 pieces of fabric and 2 pieces of the lining, and my lining is shorter by 1 inch. So as for the front, this is the yoke for the front. I added 1/2 inch all through for seam allowance and I cut it on fold. Let me open it. Let me remove the pin. So as you can see, here is it. I cut it on fold, and this is the side. I have 2 pieces of fabric and 2 pieces of the lining, and my lining is shorter by 1 inch. So I added 1/2 inch here and here, but for the side and the bottom, I added 1.5 for my seam allowance. As for the cups, here is it. I added 1/2 inch all through it. This is cup B and this is cup A. I added 1/2 inch all through it as well. I have 2 pieces of lining for it and 2 pieces of fabric. So I have 2 pieces of the wording too, but I did not add any seam allowance to the wording. So I did the same thing on the cup A. 2 pieces of the lining, 2 pieces of the fabric, and I have 2 pieces of the wording too. I did not add any seam allowance to it as well. This is my center front. I have it on fold. Here is it. I added 1/2 inch through here and here, but at the bottom here I added 1.5, and this is my lining. It's shorter than the fabric by 1 inch. So before moving on to the sewing aspect, I'm going to cut this and come into my fabric and lining. So let me quickly go and do that. I'll come and show you how to put it together to form that corset top with yoke we are talking about. Now I'm done gumming the interfacing. As you can see, this is the front part. Let me start with the front. So this is the yoke. Let me put it aside. This is my 2 cups, cup A and cup B. I'm going to remove all the papers now, but before removing the paper for the cup, I'm going to notch it. I'm notching both fabric and lining on my bust point. As you can see, I've notched the 2 cups on my bust point. I'm going to notch this side too. Going to notch where my bust point is, as well as this one too. I'm going to notch it. So I'm chalking it to know where I'm going to notch before removing my paper now. So after notching all that I explained, so I'm going to take my cup one by one. Let me remove the lining and use the fabric to explain to you. This is the lining for the cups. Put it aside. The lining for both center and the sides. I've gummed it, as you can see. I've gummed it already. and I've gummed the lining too. I gummed the lining of the cups too. As you can see, here's it. So let me put them aside now for me to use my fabric to explain to you. So now I'm going to take cup A and cup B together like this. I'm going to stitch it, let it align on each other, and stitch the 1/2 inch that I added for my seam allowance. Just follow the shape here. So I'm going to do the same thing on the second part of it, put it together like this and stitch with 1/2 inch all through. So as for the center front and the sides, I'm going to open up my center front like this. Take one of the sides. I'm going to take one of the sides. This is where this is where the cup will be fixed. So I'm going to take one of it. Make sure you get it right, please, before you stitch it, and let the right side of the center face the right side of the side, one of the side, and stitch with 1/2 inch from here down till the bottom. When I finish with that, I'm going to take the second one, place it on it like this, stitch with 1/2 inch from here till the bottom of it. Now this is my back part. Here is the front, here is the yoke for my back part. I'm going to put it aside. Here is my zipper side and here is my side. So I have 2 pieces of lining here as well, and I've gummed it. As you can see, I've gummed the lining, the fabric too. So for me to know where the zipper is going to be, I'm going to notch it for me not to make any silly mistakes. I'm going to notch both fabric and the lining on my zipper side. So that's just it. So it will be easier for me to know where the zipper is going to be now before removing my paper from it. So here's it, and I'm going to remove my lining too. I want to use the fabric to explain how to put it together. So I'll easily spread it out now. Here is one of it, and here is the second, and this is where the zipper is going to be. As you can see, the notching. So I'm going to take my sides one by one, place it on each other, let the right side face each other. So this is it now. This is going to be for this. And I'm going to stitch from here down to the bottom of it with 1/2 inch. Put this one on this one too. Let the right side face each other and stitch with 1/2 inch from here. So I'm going to do the same thing on the lining too. All that I explained, I'm going to do it on the lining too. So when I finish with all that, I'll come and show you what's next. Now I'm done stitching all that I explained. This is the front part, and this is the back part. So this is the lining for the front part, as you can see, and this is the fabric. So this is the 2 cups. I've joined it together. This is the lining for the cups, and this is the 2 cups. So before fixing my cup to the body, I'm going to open it up like this and notch this place with 1/4 inch and give it a good press. Make sure I open the same area like this and iron it out. After notching and ironing the cup, I'm going to open it up like this. This is where I join it together. I'm going to place it on this place like this and follow this shape and stitch it with 1/2 inch. When I finish with this side, I'm going to do the same thing on the second side like this and stitch it with 1/2 inch. So I'm going to follow the same process if I want to join the second cup. So that's it for that. So as for the back, here is it. Here's the lining. I've joined it together, and here is the fabric. I've joined it together as well, both the center back and the sides. So I'll go ahead now and place my back on the right side of the fabric like this. So stitch it with 1/2 inch on the bottom. After stitching the bottom of my top together with 1/2 inch, both the lining and the fabric, I'll pull it up a little bit. You know, I said while I was cutting, I said my lining is 1 inch shorter than the fabric, so I have to pull it up a little bit to meet here where I'm going to join my yoke. So to fix my yoke now, after that, I'm going to, this is the right side of my yoke, this is one of my yoke, and this is the right side of it. I'll just place it on the right side of the fabric like this and place my lining on it like this and stitch with 1/2 inch. I'm going to do the same thing on the second side of my back. So when I finish all that, I'll come and show you what's next. Now this is the front part. I'm done fixing the cup, as you can see, and this is the lining to it. So I'll go ahead and notch all the curve area to make it lay very well, both the lining and the fabric. Now, to add more beauty to my corset top, I'm going to use bias tape to stitch on this line. I'm stitching on this line. I'm using bias tape to beautify it a little bit. So on this line now, I'm going to place it like this and stitch. On this line too, I'm placing it and stitch. Here too, I'm placing and stitch. So I'm doing the same thing on the second side of it. So after all that, I'll now use it to cover it round like this, the corset itself. I'm using bias to cover it like this. I'm doing the same thing on the second part of it. After that, I'll go ahead and place my lining on the right side of the fabric. Let the right side of the lining face the right side of the fabric, and stitch with 1/2 inch on the bottom here, round like this. So after doing that, I'll pull my lining a little bit up to meet this place. I'm going to open up my lining like this for me to place my yoke. So this is the right side of my yoke now. Make sure the center matches each other. Just place it on it like this, so, and pin it down if you want. So after pinning, place the lining on it like this and stitch all around with 1/2 inch. This is my back part. So here is it now. I've stitched the bottom with 1/2 inch and here too with 1/2 inch. So my yoke is in between the lining and the fabric. Let me turn it to the right side for you to see. As you can see, this is it. Here is it now. This is the yoke. So I'll go ahead now and turn it to the wrong side again for me to stitch the side. Here is it. I will go ahead now and stitch. This is my zipper side. I'm going to stitch it with 1/2 inch till the bottom, and this is my side. I'm going to stitch it with 1/2 inch till the bottom. I'll do the same thing on the second part of it. Now I'm done with all that I explained. This is my back part. I'm going to turn it to the right side for you to see how it looks like. But before that, I'm going to notch this place with 1/4 of an inch. You know, it's a little bit curved, so to make it lay very well, I have to notch it a little bit. This is the second one. I'll now turn it to the right side for you to see how beautiful it is. It's the right side of my back part, as you can see. So make sure the stitching for the front as well, as you can see. So make sure you trim all the excess thread and fabric to make your job neat, please. So I started my stitching from here, from the center here, till I reach where the net, the yoke stop here. I do the same thing on the second part till I reach where the yoke stop here. So I'll now cut where my yoke stop. I'll cut it a little bit with 1/2 inch. I'm going to cut this side too with 1/2 inch. The cutting I made here is just to make it lay very well on the right side of it. So I'll now turn it to the right side for you to see what I'm talking about. So here is the right side of my front now. As you can see, this is the effect of that cutting to make it come out here because of my sleeve. Go ahead and top stitch from here till I reach here to make it lay very well. So after that, I'm going to turn it to the wrong side again and stitch my side with 1/2 inch. So I'll just turn it like this to the wrong side again for me to stitch my side. Just like this. I'm going to stitch with 1/2 inch from here till the bottom of it, doing the same thing on this side too. Now I'm done top stitching this place, and I've stitched my side together. So I brought it out from this little space that I left open here. So this is the right side of it now, and this is the wrong side of it. As you can see, it's very neat and beautiful. I'll go ahead now and place my back on it. Let the right side face each other for me to join my shoulder with 1/2 inch. I'm joining the two shoulders with 1/2 inch. So when I finish with that, with the shoulder, I'm going to stitch my side seam. I'm done joining my shoulder with 1/2 inch, and I've stitched my side seam too with 1.5 inch. So I'll go ahead now and fold it into two like this. Here is the right side of it. I'll just fold it towards my zipper side like this. After folding into two like this towards my zipper side, on my bust point, I'm going to place half of my bust circumference on it. On my waist, I'm going to do the same thing. Half of my waist, I'm going to place it on it. On my hip too, which is the full length of my top, I'm going to place half of my hip on it. So assuming this is all the marking now, so I'll go ahead and let it reflect on the second part of it. So this is where I'm going to fix my zipper now. I'm going to fix my zipper on this line for me to complete it that way. I'm going to use bias tape to finish up my neckline and attach my desired sleeve to it. That's it all for today, guys. If you find my tutorial helpful, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel to support my channel. If you have any question pertaining to cutting and sewing, you can join me on my Facebook group, Details to Sewing, created by Akorede Adenike. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Akorede Adenike. Please show some love by liking my page and following my page on Facebook at Akorede Adenike Sewing Tutorial. Till I see you in my next video, guys. Stay safe, stay blessed. Bye bye.